Dan Madison for Vince Coglianese. This is where we make sense of the news, or at least try to make some sense of Kamala Harris. Appreciate you listening. There is a lot going on. I want to cover a couple of things for you in this hour. One of them, a really interesting story that I'm going to get to after the bottom of the hour news. Apparently, at least according to the Daily Mail, it sounds like Barron Trump is going to be helping his father with the socials and the influencers. Really interesting story, and that is coming from our friends at the Daily Mail. I'll tell you about that here about 3:35 or so, right here on WMAL. Again, my name is Dan Mandis. I'm in for Vince. You can find out more about me. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter at Dan Mandis Show. So if you'd like to check me out, you can. I'm on all the socials, as a matter of fact. I'm going to start out the broadcast of this afternoon with this comment from Amy Klobuchar.
She's been in this now 21 days. She has yet to do a single interview. Why is that? And is that going to change?
21 days, Jonathan.
3 weeks.
She started running for president. Before that, she did tons of interviews. She's done interviews with you. She's done interviews. I'm sure she's going to do interviews. Just last night in Nevada, she talked to the press.
So that, of course, Amy Klobuchar, who always sounds like she's on the verge of tears. But, it's interesting because she says, well, she's only been running for president for 3 weeks. 3 weeks ago, it's like memo to Amy Klobuchar. 3 weeks ago, Kamala Harris was not running for president of the United States. 3 weeks ago, we kind of sort of had a sense as to where Kamala Harris was politically. Now we have no idea. I know that Vince and everyone else on WMAL, like talk show hosts across the country, have been playing all of the audio bites of Kamala Harris and what she has said in the past as it relates to all of her very progressive, i.e. radical, political opinions. We can talk about open borders. We can talk about illegal aliens getting medical benefits courtesy of the taxpayers of America. We can talk about defunding the police. All of the things that she has said over the years. And now, all of a sudden, she's running for president and she sounds like a moderate. At least according to some folks, but we really wouldn't know what her political positions are because she won't speak to the media. And so for Amy Klobuchar, I thought that was kind of funny. Where she's like, talking to Jonathan Karl, Jonathan, it's only been 3 weeks. 3 weeks she's been running for president. It's like, yeah, 3 weeks. And we only have a few months before the people of America are going to be voting for who they want to be president of the United States. She should be doing all kinds of interviews. But she refuses to. You know why she refuses to, of course? I know that you know because you listen to Vince and WMAL. Because she's trying to square the things that she believes in, which is all of the progressive politics that she talked about when she ran for the presidency in 2019. And she was the first to drop out of the primary. The reason why she dropped out of the primary is because the American people did not like her and the American people did not like her politics. Far too progressive, far too radical, far too unlikable. And so now here we are. She's vice president of the United States. She's now officially running for the presidency, and all those policies remain. And now she's trying to figure out, okay, so I said this 4 years ago. How do I square that with what I know the American people want to hear? How do I square that with what is going to make me a more acceptable candidate to the independents out there, the moderates out there? And here's the thing. It seems like an almost impossible task. And so what does she do? Well, she takes a note out of Donald Trump's playbook.
And eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
And yeah, the crowd goes wild, and it's crazy to think about. Because she knows, and everybody knows, even the media is reporting it. that Kamala Harris is taking a page out of Donald Trump's playbook. I mean, it's been 2 months that Donald Trump has been talking about no tax on tips.
I'm also doing no tax on tips. No tax on tips. So waiters, waitresses, caddies, people that drive cars, people that get tips who have been harassed by this government, we're going to have no tax on tips. That's a big thing.
It is a very big thing. Now, I host a morning show in Nashville, Tennessee on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Somebody sent me a note. And they said, well, Dan, why does it matter who wants to eliminate the taxes on tips, whether it's Donald Trump or whether it's Kamala Harris? It's a good idea, is it not? Well, I think it's a good idea. But my response to that is this. Who do you trust to actually see that through? Who do you trust to look at that policy announcement and say, okay, so if I really want that to happen, because, the American people are cynical. I know I am. Which of these two candidates will actually fulfill that campaign promise? Donald Trump or Kamala Harris? Well, it's clear that Kamala Harris, Democrat, progressive, she has been all about higher taxes for years. And so I don't believe for a second that if you want no taxes on tips, then the person you need to vote for is Donald Trump, because Kamala Harris, she has been all about higher taxes for years. Remember when Kamala Harris backed the Democrats $80 billion that they wanted to utilize for more IRS audits on things like tip income? Remember all of those, 80,000 IRS agents they wanted to hire? Remember this? The Biden-Harris administration launching a new IRS crackdown on tips, getting the IRS inside the door at bars and restaurants to directly monitor tips at the cash register, at the point of sale. And so what this was basically going after employers to make sure the service staff complied with the IRS demands. And all of this, and a whole lot more, by the way, was to be enforced with the Inflation Reduction Act, which she was the deciding vote on. Remember all of this. Also, don't forget they wanted to get people to report their $600 phone app transactions to the IRS. Remember that whole thing? They eventually dropped all that because they couldn't really figure out, shocker, how to make that work. Untenable is the word that I saw. Democrats, Kamala Harris, also talking about allowing the Trump tax cuts to expire in 2025. So I'm sorry, but if you really want no taxes on tips and you're trying to decide, well, Kamala Harris said it a couple of months after Donald Trump said it, but, Trump said it, Harris said it. Who do you trust to actually make it happen? Donald Trump has always been about lower taxes, lower regulation. That's what Donald Trump is all about. Donald Trump has always been about giving you more money in your pocket. Kamala Harris has been all about higher taxes and utilizing that money for progressive ideals. One of them, of course, giving benefits to illegal aliens. So here's the problem that the Democrats have, is that for how long now? The media has been saying, do an interview, do an interview, do an interview. The Republicans have been saying, where's the policy? Where's the policy? No policy to be had from Kamala Harris, not even on her website. And so you would think that the Democrats, all we have to do, if we think that Joe Biden is so great from a policy standpoint, Nancy Pelosi even saying that Joe Biden should be on Mount Rushmore. So if Joe Biden and his policies were so great, transforming America, well, then why wouldn't they just transition all of those policies from Joe Biden's website to Kamala Harris's website, if they're so proud of those policies? I know I'm getting a little worked up first thing in the afternoon, but I'm just telling you that when you when you hear the insincerity, when you hear the contradictions of Kamala Harris, when she said this 4 years ago, the Biden administration has been doing this for the last 3.5 years, then all of a sudden, she comes out as a moderate. And then you've got the media, the ever so, always so obedient media, doing all they can to rebrand Kamala Harris as some sort of a moderate. It is an absolute joke. And when I heard that Kamala Harris had actually stolen, she finally comes out with a policy. And she ripped it off from Donald Trump. Hashtag copycat Kamala. I thought, this is the best they can do? Is steal Donald Trump's policy? Talking about the media earlier, MSNBC and Simone Sanders said this.
I know Donald Trump, saying that the vice president copied him, but this tipped wage piece is there's bipartisan movement here for this. Tipped wage workers are very important, obviously.
Right, but here's the thing, is that everything, and I just played you, I just told you the story of Kamala Harris and how she and Biden have been looking to raise taxes and go after the waiters and waitresses and service staff all across the country in the last 3.5 years. And so while Simone Sanders, she does admit that this was something that Donald Trump has talked about as well, has spoken about, it has been one of the centerpieces of his campaign. And so you can't sit here and say, well, yeah, this is a bipartisan thing. No, it's not. Because the Democrats haven't exactly been on board with cutting people's taxes. The Democrats have been on board with eliminating or allowing Donald Trump's tax cuts to sunset next year. They've been all about that. So I thought that when Simone Sanders said that, it was kind of comical.
I know Donald Trump, saying that the vice president copied him, but this tipped wage piece is there's bipartisan movement here for this. Tipped wage workers are very important, obviously.
Then why haven't they done it in the last 3.5 years? Can I ask that question? They have had the last 3.5 years, the Democrats have, and Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, they've had the last 3.5 years. If this was such a good idea, then why didn't they do it in the last 3.5 years? Now, again, not to belabor the point, but Trump could have done it specifically during his 4 years in his first term of office. He didn't do it, but he did work to lower everyone's taxes. And so he's taking the tax cuts a step further. And I think that it's a great thing. Now, others have a completely different opinion. Some economists will tell you that this is a bad idea. Other economists will tell you it's a great idea. Where do I fall on this? I think it's a great idea. I used to work with tips or for tips. I have family members that work for tips. And you're talking about, by and large, people that don't make a whole heck of a lot of money. And so they need as many breaks as they can possibly get. And the long arm of the government, the long reach of the government going into the pockets, going into the wallets, going into the bank accounts, taking more and more out of our paychecks. At the very same time, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and their inflation. Everything is higher. Groceries are higher. Inflation, of course, interest rates higher, costing more to try to pay off those credit cards. All of that is higher. And what do they want to do? They want to take away the Trump tax cuts. And so it's very cynical for Kamala Harris to now say, hey, we're going to eliminate the taxes on tips. Very cynical. And I call BS on that one. I do. Because all you have to do is look at their previous behavior of the last 3.5 years. The American people, I hope, know better. We'll have to wait and see what happens. 326 on WMAL. Let's get right to the phones. Tim is calling from Chantilly on WMAL. Tim, go ahead.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm all right.
Okay, good. Well, you kind of took some of my thunder away, but there was a meme on Facebook where it showed someone said, "Well, hey, you're the vice president. How come you don't take the taxes away right now?" And I looked at that and I thought about it. And, your statement about being 3.5 years is much better, but people are noticing it that she has the ability to at least bring it up as the VP. I mean, why not,
Sure.
right?
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and the other thing, just really quick about that, was I was thinking about it, and I have my conspiracy theory is that may have gained so much ground in notification. Like when he announced that in Nevada, when Trump did, I said, man, he just, or I think he was in Las Vegas. I go, he just won Nevada. I think that Democrats aren't stupid. They see that and they go, okay, well, we're going to say the same thing to try to even the playing field. And I'm going to be waiting to hear her say next that she's going to get rid of the taxes on Social Security for the elderly.
Tim, thank you very much for the call. I appreciate it. And you're right. Actually, that's one of the things that Donald Trump said. Trump actually said that where in his statement when Harris said this the other night, he came out and said, yeah, what's next? I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, so what will be next for Kamala Harris? Is she going to start calling for a border wall? Is she going to start, just going down? Oh, by the way, earlier today, Donald Trump actually has released a lot of his policy positions, and we're going to talk about that as the afternoon continues to unfold. My name is Dan Mandis, in for Vince Coglianese, 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news. We'll return next. 3:35 on WMAL. Dan Mandis in for Vince Coglianese. Always appreciate the opportunity to fill in our nation's capital. So, Barron Trump, who, by the way, I'm not sure if you've noticed this, he is like way taller than his dad. Well, apparently Barron is now jumping into the political fray. This is from the Daily Mail, how Barron Trump and his conservative influencer best friend, a guy named Bo Loudon, 17 years old, and they're looking to help the former president secure the Gen Z vote. And so apparently what they're doing is they are working together with President Trump, and they're trying to help him, former President Trump, they're trying to help him get that far younger vote by getting in touch with the influencers and, doing all that kind of stuff. I'm assuming they're looking to do videos and all that kind of thing. But I love that Barron is getting involved in what has now become the family business. And I think it's really smart. They say Donald Trump has a secret weapon in his bid to reach Gen Z voters. His youngest son, Barron, 18 years old, and again, the teen influencer's best friend, this 17-year-old Bo Loudon. They say the tech-savvy teens are busily briefing the 78-year-old former president behind the scenes on the new landscape of streamers and YouTube stars with millions of followers. They're now acting as a de facto social media outreach team, according to the DailyMail.com sources, wooing, they say, online stars who older aides might have never heard of to the Trump cause. They say it was Barron and Bo who lined up his 90-minute interview last week with Kick influencer Aiden Ross, which was watched live by 500,000 people. Tonight's the big, I think, right? Tonight is when Trump is going to speak to Elon Musk on X. I think that's going to be awesome. Not so awesome, although I do find this kind of funny, is Corinne, well, I call her, so just so you folks know, in my my show in Nashville, Tennessee, my morning show, I always refer to Corinne Jean-Pierre as Cringe because she is so cringy. And I don't know if I was the first one to come up with it. I have no idea, but I usually call her Cringe because, let's face it, she is cringy. And so she was asked a question, the White House press briefing. I believe it's going on as we speak, or it wrapped up just a few minutes ago. But this is one particular soundbite that I thought was hysterical. Corinne Jean-Pierre facing the White House press corps.
What does the president see as the vice president's biggest achievement during?
What does the president, current President Joe Biden, see as Kamala Harris's biggest achievement? I want you to listen closely to Cringe Jean-Pierre. And I want you, in your mind, as you're listening to this, the sound of tap dancing behind her audio, because that is exactly what she starts doing.
What does the president see as the vice president's biggest achievement during their time in office together?
So look, because they've been partners, those achievements have been done, certainly those historic, unprecedented achievements have been done together. I'll say this, the president believes in the vice president leadership, her temperament, her experience.
Right.
And he has said this himself. One of the proudest decisions that he made in 2020 was selecting her as vice president because he believed that she can go on day one.
Right.
And you've seen them do that together on day one.
Yeah, we know what they did on day one. Anybody remember what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did on day one? You're right. All those executive orders, they opened up the southern border. That's right. Very good.
Of this administration. That doesn't change. I'm not going to parse out anything from here. They have been partners.
Do you know why you can't parse anything out, Cringe Jean-Pierre? Because she hasn't accomplished anything. Cringe Jean-Pierre, I will tell you that listening to her is so frustrating because the gaslighting of the last 3.5 years have been so infuriating. I'm not going to parse anything out here. You know why? Because you can't name anything. You can't name one thing. Can anybody here name one thing? Because, right, she was border czar. Oh, no, she wasn't border. Oh, yes, she was border czar. No, she wasn't. She actually was. Kamala Harris was border czar. And here's the thing. Even if you say, okay, she wasn't actually in charge of the southern border. She was in charge of looking at all of these various countries where all of these illegal aliens are coming across our southern border and tackling the diplomatic issues that are leading to the push factors. Why are all these people leaving these countries like El Salvador, Honduras, and so forth, Guatemala? And the point is that no matter how you look at it, she failed. Because even when in her role as border czar, if it was only to work on the diplomatic issues that were leading to people leaving their country and coming to ours, well, that failed because they kept coming. And they kept coming and they kept coming and they kept coming. So no matter how you look at it, Kamala Harris was a failure in working as the border czar or whatever you want to call her.
She's been a critical partner for this president for during this term and will continue to do so. You will see them together on Thursday in Maryland, where they would talk about their next announcement on lowering costs for the American people.
Got to cringe. Okay. So in other words, that was an audio bite of, I think it was 59 seconds long. 59 seconds, and what does Joe Biden say is Kamala Harris's biggest achievement? And Corinne Jean-Pierre could not name one thing. And that's why she's afraid to speak to the media. That is why Kamala Harris is afraid to speak to the media. Because she can't name anything. What is your biggest accomplishment? She doesn't have one. She does not have one. Donald Trump has come out with his core promises to make America great again. There's 20 of them. I'm going to go through some of these. Number 1, seal the border and stop the migrant invasion. Number 2, carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. Number 3, end inflation and make America affordable again. Number 4, make America the dominant energy producer in the world by far. Number 5, stop outsourcing and turn the United States into a manufacturing superpower. Number 6, large tax cuts for workers and no tax on tips. Number 7, defend our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and our fundamental freedoms, including the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the right to keep and bear arms. Number 8, prevent World War III, restore peace in Europe and in the Middle East, and build a great Iron Dome missile defense shield over our entire country, all made in America. Number 9, end the weaponization of government against the American people. And number 10, stop the migrant crime epidemic, demolish the foreign drug cartels, crush gang violence, and lock up violent offenders. I mean, that's 1 through 10. Here's the deal. I wonder if Kamala Harris is listening, because that's what the American people want. Do you know what doesn't make sense to me? I don't know if you folks believe the polls. Over the weekend, New York Times came out with new polling. Everybody lost their mind on this because somehow Kamala Harris was ahead of Donald Trump by 4 in 3 battleground states. I think it was Wisconsin, it was Pennsylvania, and Michigan. It was those 3. Yet there's polling out there that shows that by and large, the American people are not happy with the direction of the country. So I'm sitting here and I'm trying to think, okay, so Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I mean, you just heard Corinne Jean-Pierre where she says, oh, Harris and Biden, they've been hand in hand. All they've done for America, they've been partners, I would say, in destroying America. So how does it work when you have a really unpopular president, a really unpopular vice president, and the vast, vast majority of the American people believe that America's on the wrong track and going in the wrong direction? Yet you have these other polls that are showing that Kamala Harris is more and more popular by the day and by the poll. How does that work? Somebody please explain that to me. And then I realized and I remembered, well, this actually is very consistent with Democrats. All you've got to do is look at a city like Washington, D.C. All you've got to do is look at a city like Baltimore. All you've got to do is look at a state like California, where these cities and these states have been led to the road to ruin by Democrats. Yet election after election after election after election, the people of those cities and the people of those states, despite the fact that their cities and states are going to hell, they continue to vote for Democrats, even though it's the Democrats that have led them down that road. It doesn't make any sense. But then you realize, and of course I realize, because I've been talking about this for a long time, Democrats don't care. They don't care about the lies that are told. They don't care about failure or success. All they care about is power. That's all they care about. Because if there's one thing that I've noticed over the years is that Democrats, by and large, reward failure. That's what they do. They reward failure. How long, I don't know if it still is, but how long was Washington, D.C. the murder capital of America? And yet, everywhere you look, there's Democrats. Democrats in the mayor's office and so forth. Same with a place like Baltimore. Where I live in Nashville, Tennessee, Memphis is to our west. You want to talk about a city with problems. And all the people of Memphis do is vote in Democrats. Even though murder rates are up, violent crime rates are up, the schools are crap, you've got food deserts and pharmaceutical deserts in areas because of all of that high crime. And then you've got all the hand-wringing, oh, they don't have any food, they don't have access to pharmaceuticals. Really? Well, y'all voted to defund the police, and so I don't know what the heck to tell you. Democrats reward failure because they like the chaos. Because then, every couple of years, they can come back and they say, we'll fix this for you, but they never do. They just allow those cities to rot in ruin. Because sadly, that's what they do. And it's the people of those cities that suffer. And it's actually really sad. Chris is in Marshall on WMAL, line 1. Hey, Chris, thanks for calling in. Go ahead.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate taking my call. I'm holding down the front line of the heartland, man. You know, we were fed a bill of goods that Walz was selected because he brings to the table an eloquence that can help Camilla, or as I call her, Gangela, get her platform across to the people, because she's not the most eloquent person. Well, through an enormous amount of due diligence, I found the list of alternatives that they either approached or declined the offer of being Gangela's beat. And these are the people that are considered more eloquent than her. Representative Hank Johnson, the Hamburglar from McDonald's,
Sure.
Ozzy Osbourne, Verbal Kint from The Usual Suspects, the Vegetant himself, the Close Talker from the old Seinfeld episodes, the Swedish Chef and Meat from the Muppets, the teacher in the Peanuts television show, you know, from Dick Tracy.
You know what, Chris from Marshall, you may be onto something there, because let's face it, right now, and I appreciate your call, right now, Kamala Harris is afraid to talk to the media. Tim Walz is afraid to talk to the media.
To that list as well.
25.9 WMAL, Dan Mandis in for Vince Coglianese. I got through the first 10 of the Donald Trump policy positions. I've got just enough time to get in the following 10, 11 through 20. Kamala Harris, if you're listening, I don't know which one of these you might want to rip off, but number 11, rebuild our cities, including Washington, D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful again. Strengthen and modernize our military, making it, without question, the strongest and most powerful in the world. Number 13, keep the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. Number 14, fight for and protect Social Security and Medicare with no cuts, including no changes to the retirement age. Number 15, cancel the electric vehicle mandate and cut costly and burdensome regulations. Number 16, cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, radical gender ideology, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. I love number 17. Keep men out of women's sports. Number 18, deport pro-Hamas radicals and make our college campuses safe and patriotic again. Secure our elections, including same-day voting, voter identification, paper ballots, and proof of citizenship. And finally, number 20, unite our country by bringing it to new and record levels of success. I mean, listen, friends, that's what Donald Trump wants to do. Can I ask a question? What does Kamala Harris want to do? Will we ever know what Kamala Harris wants to do? And do the Democrats or their partners in the media even care that we have absolutely no idea where Kamala Harris stands on any of the policy points that I just read you from Donald Trump? Because her website, at least last time I checked, still didn't show a darn thing. And she won't give interviews. Tim Walz, her running mate, won't give interviews as well. Inquiring minds want to know. We'll see what happens. My name is Dan Mandis. In for Vince Coglianese, this is 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.